Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Thursday, September 25th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. From living in Pakistan, England, the East Coast, and now Fresno, author Samina Najmi's life has taken her all over the world.
One thing that creative nonfiction makes you do is reflect. And when you reflect, you start to see patterns.
Coming up, we'll sit down with Samina and discuss her new book of personal essays. But first, these headlines. Officials in Fresno are celebrating after a federal judge ruled in their favor this week. Fresno and 11 other cities sued the Trump administration, claiming they were targeted for defunding. The cities argued they were mandated to comply with the president's executive orders, like changes to DEI, in order to receive federal grants. The judge said that requirement was arbitrary and sided with the cities. It's unclear if the Trump administration will appeal. California nonprofits that help the homeless say they're worried about federal funding cuts. The Trump administration has tried to block organizations that don't support its political agenda from accessing federal housing funds. But groups in California say they've managed to bring down the number of people experiencing homelessness, and that continuing funding can help them make more progress. Merced County, for example, saw a 14% decrease in homelessness since last year. Former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger was recently featured in a No on Prop 50 ad, saying the contested November ballot measure would undo years of work to take redistricting power away from politicians.
The Constitution does not start with the politicians, it starts with we the people.
As Governor Schwarzenegger led efforts to create the state's Independent Redistricting Commission. Sacramento State political science professor Wesley Hussey says campaign ads often use celebrity endorsements, like from the movie star turned politician.
We always see celebrities and people of note supporting ballot measures. We're California, we're interesting, and we have interesting people who live here.
The Yes on 50 campaigns have also featured notable politicians like Governor Gavin Newsom and U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The race could decide which party controls the House of Representatives in 2026. UC Merced researchers are looking into habits associated with nicotine and cannabis consumption. As KVPR's Rachel Livenall reports, one way they're collecting data includes sticking a tube down a sewer line, which they did on Wednesday morning.
Don't fall in, but if you get in the right place, you can see the water flowing by.
A wastewater sample was taken from 20 feet below the UC Merced campus sign. That's where sewage, like waste from toilets and showers, runs through. Here's Professor Mark Butel.
There's multiple sources of nicotine, but in the end, you metabolize those to related compounds after you've absorbed it, and those metabolites are what we're looking for.
Butel says they're expecting less nicotine use out of this sample because they don't think students use those products as much. It's icky work, but it's important.
We use it to inform policy.
The group has been taking samples once a month from the UC and comparing it to samples in Merced and Stanislaus counties. The project started in January, and they'll have a report out in the new year. For KVPR News, I'm Rachel Livenall.
Officials are investigating the death of a 39-year-old who was in U.S. immigration custody in California. ICE officials say Ismael Ayala Uribe from Mexico was found unresponsive and later pronounced dead at a hospital on Monday. He had been transported to a hospital for surgery from the Adelanto detention facility east of Lancaster. Ayala Uribe's family says he got sick with a cough and fever shortly after arriving at the detention center. Mexico's consulate is pushing for a thorough investigation.
With Congress rescinding funding for public broadcasting, the only way the stories and sounds you love will continue on is if we all stand up for public radio. So we're asking you to start or increase your monthly donation today. We're looking for 200 new monthly sustaining members, and your generosity will help unlock $25,000 in matching funds. Give now at kvpr.org or on the KVPR app. Thanks for your support.
And now to our main story. If you're a reader like myself, you probably enjoy being swept away by a tale or story from another time. That was certainly the case for Samina Najmi as a young Pakistani girl growing up in England. Years later, the roles would reverse, and Samina would go from a reader to a writer. And instead of escaping through stories, she'd be telling her own. Samina Najmi is a professor of English at Fresno State by way of Tufts University in Massachusetts, where she earned her doctorate. But she recently returned to the classroom as a student. Samina is currently getting her Master's of Fine Arts in Creative Writing at Fresno State and has her first non-scholarly book set to publish in a matter of days. I had a chance to speak with her ahead of the Fresno Writers Summit this weekend, where she will be doing a reading. I asked Samina to start our conversation by telling us when she fell in love with the written word.
I'll have to take it back to elementary school, probably, possibly even earlier. But I loved stories. And then as soon as I could make them up, I was doing that too. What I never imagined was that I'd be writing creative nonfiction, that I'd be writing memoir, because I was very much into fantasy and, the further removed from real life, the more exciting. So that journey has been an interesting one. I've been trained as a scholar, but then in 2011, I started to write creative nonfiction thanks to the CSU Summer Arts program.
Interesting. I actually have a question about the specific personal essay style you chose for your book, but I'm curious first, why were you so interested in fantasy and sort of the escapism that books offer?
Yeah, I wonder about that. I mean, as a child, you want to inhabit maybe other bodies, other worlds, right? And so it's wherever the imagination takes you. And it was, this was 1970s London. It was not great to be that, quote, packy kid in England. So while I have some very fond memories and personal relationships there, it was also the era of the national skinheads. So it was kind of terrifying, and a child internalizes those fears.
Certainly. Well, you have a book that will be coming out in less than a week titled Sing Me a Circle, Love, Loss, and a Home in Time. And this book's a collection of personal essays written in first person. So why was that narrative style the right fit for what you wanted to say in this book?
So that CSU Summer Arts workshop I just mentioned in 2011, it was actually focused on fiction. It was with Doug Rice, professor at Sac State at the time. And I found myself turning in nonfiction and memoir as fiction.
Interesting.
So that was a clear signal that I'm meant to write nonfiction, that there's material in my life that I need to, I don't know if I was thinking about making art from it at the time, but certainly that needed to be on the page.
Like you were drawing from your own life.
Yes, and pretending it was fiction.
Yeah, I think it was Nora Ephron that said everything is copy, meaning everything's up for grabs.
That's right.
As a writer. These stories were written over the course of 10 years, right? So why was now the right time to publish?
That's another very good question. It was a very organic process for me. So I was writing these essays one at a time. At some point, fairly soon, I got comfortable sending them out. And so most of them have been published individually. And I found that was meaningful to me, especially where the subject matter is heavy. Mm-hmm. I felt like if someone else can get something from this writing, that burden that I might not even have been aware of as a burden is lifted. It's shared. So I found that was, meaningful, as I said. And so I continued to do it, but finding a publisher for the collection as a whole was not that easy. And it took 3 years.
Wow.
After the 10.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I entered it in a contest and won that contest in 2024. So that was the Aurora Polaris Award. And so Trio House Press is publishing it.
Amazing. Your book's titled Sing Me a Circle, and you explore this theme of circles and linearity. And so I like that you write, I'll quote you here, "I'm struck by the fact that if you go far enough west, you end up east." And on that note, I would just love if you read this short passage from your work sort of on that theme.
Absolutely. I can uproot myself from the land that gives me context, journey 5,000 miles westward to Boston, then a further 3,000 miles to Fresno, to end up about as far as I can possibly be from where I first began. But after all that dogged progression, I look up to find myself retracing parts of a circle my parents drew before me.
What did you mean by that, retracing parts of a circle my parents drew before me?
So one thing that creative nonfiction makes you do is reflect. And when you reflect, you start to see patterns, and even motifs in your life, which is very satisfying aesthetically, right? Because we live our lives randomly. We move from day to day, and we do the best we can in the course of that day. But taking a step back and thinking about the things that matter to me, my own movements, as in this passage, there really isn't anything new here. My parents did this before me, the writing as well.
And the migrating around, is that what you're referencing?
Yes.
Yeah.
They had a different context, the partition. And so, they moved from India to Pakistan, leaving a lot of family behind, and then to England and then back to Pakistan and so on, right? So mine is a different path, but, that circularity was striking. And then the other thing that was really striking when I sat down to think about it was that the writing is not new either. Both my parents wrote, my grandfathers, my grandmother, not necessarily published, but that's how they found home on the page. And it occurred to me that that's what I'm doing.
And what do you hope that readers get from your book?
I would be thrilled if readers saw something of themselves in the book. And despite all of the trappings that are so different, right? The places may be different, the experiences may be different, but we're human beings, and there's more connection than disconnect, I think. And so I would love that, if they thought it was beautiful, that would be amazing too.
Samina Najmi, Fresno State English professor and author of the new book, Sing Me a Circle, Love, Loss, and a Home in Time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Samina's book will be published on October 1st. It'll be available through Trio House Press, at bookstores, and on Amazon. Also, if you'd like to hear Samina and many authors read excerpts from their writings, you can attend the Fresno Writers Summit this Saturday at the Smith Camp Alumni House. And that is today's show. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden, Sarith Hawk, and KVPR, with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. You can find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
Support for Central Valley Daily comes from Body 20 in Fresno's Fig Garden Village, offering full-body electromuscle stimulation training sessions. It's a high-tech, time-efficient way to help preserve and rebuild lean muscle. Each 20-minute one-on-one session is guided by a certified coach using FDA-cleared technology. Body 20 accepts health savings account cards. More information available by searching the Fig Garden location at body20.com.